Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. So today is the last day for this Holy Land tour, and today we are going to visit the Great Pyramid of Giza, Pharaonic village and the Holy Family Church. Good morning everyone. Today is the 9th day for our Holy Land tour, and you can see this beautiful view of the sunrise from our hotel room. So today is the last day in Egypt, and evening we are returning back to our home. So as usual, we are going to start our day with breakfast. So let's go and see the things they will serve us. So now this is the hotel which we stayed. Yesterday when we came it was night. So that's why I'm showing you our hotel today. So here in our hotel also they have kept these 3 pyramids as a model. So today we are going to visit this place first. Now we are heading towards the Pyramid of Giza. So this is the Nile River as you see, so we need to cross over the Nile River. And you can see now the Pyramids of Giza from a distance. So we are going to go there, even though it's not so clear, but it looks very great. So now we have entered into the area. So the first thing will be to get ticket, then only we can enter inside. So you can see here, welcome to the Pyramid of Giza. So see, this is the ticket. So at the back of it will be the scanning thing. So after scanning only we can enter from this gate. So this is Pyramid of Giza. The Pyramids of Giza were royal tombs built for 3 different pharaohs. The northernmost and oldest pyramid of the group was built for King Khufu. The second king of the 4th dynasty, called the Great Pyramid, is the largest of the 3. So one question remains, that do pyramids have doors? So you can see here in the video, there exist a total of 3 swivel doors in the Pyramid of Giza. One of the enormous door is a 20-ton swivel door in the Great Pyramid and is so well balanced that it can be opened from inside with just one hand. So you can see here it's so big and tall. So at 146.5 meter or 481 feet high, the Great Pyramid stood as the tallest structure in the world for more than 4,000 years. So today it stands at 137 meter high, having lost 9.5 meter from the top. The height of one stone is equal to mine. So the stone blocks of Khufu's pyramid were very large in the lower layers. So it was about 1.0 to 1.5 meter high and 6.5 to 10 tons. So you can see the moon, the Great Pyramid and the sun in the same frame at the same time. Now we are taking small tour of the Great Pyramids from the bus. So who discovered this Great Pyramid? John Greaves was a 17th century British astronomer who identified the Great Pyramids as belonging to Pharaoh Khufu and made detailed drawings of the portion of the pyramid. So are the pyramids 8-sided? Despite what may think about the ancient structure, the Great Pyramid is an 8-sided figure and not a 4-sided figure. Each of the pyramid's 4 sides are evenly split from base to tip by very subtle concave indentations. It is believed that this discovery was made in 1940 by a British Air Force pilot. So you can see so many camels in the desert, and even there are chariots. So if you want to visit all these places by walk, you can do. Otherwise you can also hire camel and you can explore this place very beautifully. We can see all the 3 Great Pyramids from one place. So apart from these great 3 pyramids, you can see these 3 small pyramids. So these were buried places for Egyptian royalty during the Old Kingdom. The 3 large pyramids at Giza were built for the 3 generations of Egyptian kings, Khufu, his son Khafre, and his grandson Menkaure. There are also several smaller pyramids at Giza, constructed for these kings' wives and mothers. The Giza Pyramid Complex, also called the Giza Necropolis, is home to the Great Pyramid, the Pyramid of Khafre, and the Pyramid of Menkaure, along with their associated pyramid complexes and the Great Sphenix. So after this, now we are going out. So just at the entrance you can see this Sphenix. This is the Great Sphenix of Giza. It is a limestone statue of reclining phoenix, a mythical creature with the head of a human and the body of a lion. Facing directly from west to east, it stands on the Giza Plateau on the west bank of the Nile in Giza, Egypt. The face of the phoenix appears to represent the pharaoh Khafre. According to the Egyptologists, they believe that the phoenix is to be approximately 4,500 years old. The picture in the ticket which we get, you can see the same view from our bus. So see. This great Sphenix was also built by Pharaoh Khafre. So after visiting this wonderful Pyramid of Giza, now we are heading towards Pharaonic village, and the distance is 11.7 km, which will take around 23 minutes. So here we reach the Pharaonic village. So this is the outside area. So now we are entering inside the gate. Pharaonic village is a great introduction to Egypt, a perfect stop for everyone's first trip to Egypt. It is Egypt's historic park. It is a unique place where Egypt's entire history is explained in 2-3 hours, including our ancient history as well as our modern history. The Pharaonic village is recommended at the beginning of the trip to Egypt.
This was the inspiration of Dr. Hassan Regev, who wanted to recreate an ancient Egyptian village on the banks of the Nile with as authentic an environment as possible. The village is surrounded by an extensive papyrus plantation, which not only reproduces the ancient surroundings, but also, along with the hundreds of trees which were planted around the village, provides an effective screen to isolate this glimpse of Egypt's ancient past from sights and sounds of modern life. The Pharaonic village covers an area of 32 acres, where people dressed in the clothes of ancient times perform their daily tasks in agriculture, industry, religious affairs and home life, using replicas of the tools and instruments of the ancient Egyptians. When Dr. Abdus-Salam Regev took over the village from his father, he expanded it with 10 special museums, covering such varied subjects, the Coptic and Islamic period, and the life of President Martin. Dr. Abdus-Salam made the Pharaonic village into an open book on Egyptian history and culture. You are about to take a voyage back in time through the land of the pharaohs 4,000 years ago. Him from being killed by Pharaoh's soldiers. The child was discovered by a member of Pharaoh's family and was brought up in the royal palace. Eventually he became a prophet who led his own people, the Hebrews, out of Egypt. The grotesque dwarf god Bes was a great favorite with the Egyptians. He was believed to protect people against snakes and squibs, with scenes of agriculture and industry. The nobleman and his wife are enjoying the fresh air in their garden pavilion. They are playing a game called Senet, a game for 2 players, a form of which is still played in Egypt today. Ploughing is the first operation in preparing the land for cultivation. And here we see the ploughman with his team and the simple wooden plough. After ploughing, the heavy clods of soil are broken up with a hoe, and then furrows are made with the broad-bladed mattock. The sower scatters the seed from a small bag or basket, and sheep follow the sower to press the seed into the tough soil with their feet. Beside the houses in the background are pigeon towers. The Egyptians kept pigeons for food, and they were used for carrying messages, especially for the army. The fields are irrigated by means of the shadoof, which works like a balance, with a bucket at one end of a long pole and a heavy stone as a counterweight. Shadoofs are still sometimes used in the Egyptian countryside. When the grain is harvested, the sheaves are carried to the threshing floor in a net bag hung on a long pole. When a thick layer of grain has been spread on the circular floor, oxen or cows are driven round to break up the ears of grain with their heavy feet. The next process is winnowing, when the grain is tossed up into the air so that the lighter chaff or husk will blow away on the wind. The grain is then taken to be stored in the silos. The scribe makes a careful record of all the grain which is being stored. This was important for taxation purposes, as there was no money in Egypt in Pharaonic times. Honey was used for sweetening by the ancient Egyptians, as sugar cane was not grown in Egypt in those days. Beehives were made of pottery tubes piled up in rows, and in some parts of the country, beehives are still made this way today. The River Nile was the main highway of communication in Pharaonic times, so boat building was an important industry. Small boats were made of bundles of papyrus tied together with ropes. Such boats were used for short journeys and for fishing or hunting trips. Larger boats were made of wood, usually cedar wood imported from Lebanon. Wooden boats were pegged together with dowels and sewn together with ropes, as can be seen in the cross-section on the bank. When the boat was put into the water, the wood expanded and the rope shrank, so the boat became completely watertight. A royal boat of this type can be seen in the museum beside the Great Pyramid of King Cheops at Giza. The palm tree was a valuable resource for the Egyptians. The trunk was used in house building, and the branches provided fronds for making mats and baskets, while furniture and boxes were made from the ribs. The boxes were used for storage and as cages for small animals and birds. The Egyptians today still use the various parts of the palm tree for the same purposes. There were many different kinds of fish in the Nile and its canals which made good food, and fishing was also popular as a sport. One method of fishing can be seen here, where a net is stretched between two boats, and the fisherman hits the water with a stick to frighten the fish into the net. Let's see if he's been lucky today.
The ancient Egyptians were the first people to do sports. We have many depictions showing us the ancient Egyptians while we were playing stick fighting, archery, and wrestling.
Next there are demonstrations of some industries and crafts, the first of which is brickmaking. The material used is the Nile mud, which is mixed with water and chopped straw into a thick paste. This paste is put into a wooden mould, and the bricks are then simply left to dry in the sun. As there is little heavy rain in Egypt, these mud bricks can last for centuries. The houses of the ancient Egyptians, even the palaces of the pharaohs, were constructed of sun-dried mud brick. The roof was made of split palm trunks covered with branches. The building was covered with a thick layer of mud, which acted as insulation against heat, wind, and rain. Glassmaking was introduced into Egypt after the military campaigns of Thutmose III about 1450 BC, when captive glassmakers were brought here from Syria. Glass was used for making beads, inlays, amulets and small vessels, which were formed around a core, as glass blowing was not invented until the 1st century BC. In Ptolemaic times, Alexandria became a centre of glass craftsmanship, and in the Roman period fine cameos were produced in the same city. Egyptians are also famous for mummifying their dead. Mummification is basically dehydration, and to speed up this process, the internal organs of the body were removed and preserved separately. The body was dried out by being covered with natron salt, a form of soda found in the deserts of Egypt. The body was then cleaned and embalmed and wrapped in several layers of linen bandages. Amulets were put between the bandages to protect the mummy from harm. The whole process took 70 days. Pottery making is one of the oldest crafts in Egypt, dating back to about 6000 BC. The clay is kneaded with water and mixed with ground potsherds or chopped straw, which helps the finished pot to dry evenly without cracking. The potter forms the pot with his fingers as he kicks the wheel round with his foot. The handles are added afterwards, and the pot is dried in the sun for a while before being fired. Now for a little Egyptian magic. This scene shows the different stages in decorating a stone wall. First of all, the surface is levelled, then smoothed and polished with a piece of hard stone. Grid lines are marked in red on the prepared surface to ensure accurate enlargements of the original drawings. The artist copies the outline onto the wall, working from the sketch made by the chief artist on a small slab of stone or a piece of papyrus. Then the sculptor carves the design in relief with his mallet and chisel. Finally, the details would be painted in colour to make the picture look as realistic as possible. Statues were partially carved in the quarry where the stone for them was cut. First of all, the block of stone is separated from the rock face by hammering wooden wedges into holes cut in the rock. The wedges are soaked with water, and as the wood expands, the block breaks away. After the stone has been smoothed and polished, the profile of the work is outlined on one side, and then the sculptor carves out the figure, rounding it off first on the front and then on the back. Vases were made from various kinds of stone, particularly alabaster, a soft stone which was worked into beautiful designs. After the rough piece of alabaster has been polished smooth, the inside is hollowed out with a drill with a flint or copper bit. The vase is sunk into the ground to prevent cracking during drilling. Alabaster vases were used as lamps and for storing perfumes and precious oils. The tools of the carpenter and joiner were made of copper, wood and bronze. On the left, a man is sawing a log of wood into planks. Other tools used were a hammer, chisel, an adze and a bow drill for boring holes. It was important to the pharaohs that the army was well equipped at all times. Weapons included bows and arrows, swords, battle axes and spears, as well as shields and throw sticks. The horse-drawn war chariot was introduced into Egypt by the Hyksos from Western Asia around 1700 BC. Perfumes were very popular in ancient Egypt and consisted chiefly of fragrant oils and fats. The juice is extracted from sweet-smelling flowers in a bag of heavy canvas, the ends of which are twisted in opposite directions with wooden bars. This scented extract is then mixed with oil or fat as a base. Linen made from the flax plant was used by the Egyptians for clothing and many other purposes. Bundles of flax stalks are pulled through a large wooden comb to remove the tops and leaves. The stalks are soaked in water for a few days to soften them and then beaten with a wooden mallet. They are then pulled through a smaller comb to separate the fibres from the outer woody covering, and the good fibres are picked out and spun into thread on a spindle. The fine linen thread is then woven into cloth on a loom. The earliest looms in Egypt were horizontal, and the upright loom was brought to this country by the Hyksos. Another important industry was papyrus paper making, for which the government had the monopoly. The lowest part of the stem is the best part for paper making. The outer green rind is peeled off and the white pith is sliced into thin strips which are soaked in water. After repeated soaking, the now pliable strips are placed on a piece of cloth in two layers, one vertical and one horizontal. The surface of the sheet thus formed is then hammered with a wooden mallet to cause the fibres of the two layers to stick together. The sheet is then covered with another piece of cloth and pressed between two heavy stones for several days. During that time it also dries out in the hot sun and the piece of paper is ready for use. Good wine was appreciated in Pharaonic times, and this scene shows the method of winemaking. Bunches of ripe grapes are taken to the vat where the grapes are trodden out, and the juice extracted is poured into large pottery jars to ferment. When this process is complete, the jars are sealed with a clay seal, which is stamped with the dates and the name of the vineyard where the grapes were grown.
After visiting this beautiful Pharaonic village, now we are heading towards Holy Family Catholic Church. and the distance is 10.2 km, which will take around 20 minutes. The Holy Family is our last destination. So the Holy Family is said to have fled to Egypt, where King Herod could exert no political powers and consequently would not be able to harm baby Jesus. Upon arriving in Egypt, the Holy Family moved locations very frequently so as to avoid the reach of Herod's spies. So after visiting this last place, Holy Family Catholic Church, now we are heading towards Cairo Airport. So the distance from Holy Family Catholic Church to Cairo Airport is 12.4 km, which will take 34 hours. Thank you so much guys for watching this video. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe the channel.